Math people. All right, this short lesson is going to be our first integer operations lesson, and this is going to be adding integers. If you recall from your math vocab, integer is a word that means any positive or negative whole number. So this lesson is going to be looking at specifically adding positive and negative whole numbers. So we're going to jump into this. I'm going to break this down across two different scenarios. The first being scenario one, when you're adding two numbers that have the same sign. So when I say same sign, that would be a positive number being added to a positive number, or a negative number being added to a negative number. Now, you know how adding two positives work because that's what you've been doing since you could add or operate with numbers. We've always worked with positive numbers. You know that when you add two positive numbers, the answer is just a bigger positive number. And that rule, or what I just said, also applies to how you operate with adding two negative numbers. When you add two numbers that have the same sign, whether it's two positives or two negatives, you simply add the value of the numbers together and keep the sign of the numbers being added. So that's a lot of words. Let's look at that with a number example. All right, I have the example -6 plus -4. So I'm adding two numbers that have the same sign, and the rule simply says that I need to add the numbers together. 6 plus 4 is 10, and I need to keep the sign of the two numbers being added. So that would be -10. So I want to help you see why that is. The best way to do that for me is just use these little integer chips down here. I'm adding 6, so 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6. I'm adding 6 negative things together with 4 more of the same type together. In total, I got 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9, 10. 10 red negative integer chips. -6 plus -4 is -10. Think of this in terms of something we can all understand, and that would be money. If you got a negative number, that in money could represent debt. Debt, like owing money. So you owe someone $6 and plus you owe someone else $4. In total, you have a total debt, a total amount of money that you owe of $10, -10. So when you add two numbers and the signs are the same, it's actually really simple. It just becomes a bigger negative number, or I guess a smaller negative number. Um, and let's give you a shot at this. Here's an extra example to try, since this one's not too hard. -3 plus -10. All right, so give that a shot. If you ended up with -13, you are in great shape. You've got -3 integer chips, red integer chips, plus 10 more red negative integer chips. In total, you've got 13 of them, or $3 of debt plus $10 of debt in total is $13 of debt. I also wanted to point out one other thing that I forgot to mention. You'll notice that in the two problems we've done so far, I have put one of the numbers in parentheses. Those are not order of operations PEMDAS parentheses. That's not what these are. The reason I put the second number in parentheses is because when you are writing an addition or subtraction or any type of problem with a negative number involved, look what this problem would look like if I didn't put the second number in parentheses. Looks kind of weird, right, to have a plus and a minus right next to each other? So the reason that the parentheses are put there are so that second number stands out and you can really see, oh, that's a negative number. Um, I will do this. Most teachers, textbooks, whatever will do this as well. So when you see a single number in parentheses, that is not PEMDAS. That does not mean, oh, do that thing first. There's nothing to do in the parentheses. It's just a single number. But the reason it's there is so that you don't have an addition and a subtraction sign directly next to each other, and so it doesn't look weird. It's just to help your eyes and brain see like, whoa, there's a negative number here. Pay attention. It's negative. So -10, that's -10. And you'll see that quite often, so I wanted to point it out so that you were aware. Um, let's do one more of these. Why not? One more. All right. Give this addition problem a try on your own, and we'll check and see how you did. All right, I'm ending up with negative 23, so $23 of debt plus $14 of debt. That gets me to negative 37. So from there, those two numbers, negative 37 plus two more dollars of debt, negative 39. Final answer. So if you got that, congratulations, you're on the right track. All right, I said this was going to be broken down into two different scenarios, so now we're going to move to scenario 2. Scenario 2 is what happens when you have two numbers with different signs, so a positive plus a negative, or a negative plus a positive. And this works slightly differently. This one, I'll read you what it says, but then I'll explain it further. It says, subtract the two values, and then the final answer keeps the sign of the greater absolute value. That's a lot of words. So here's how I'll try to explain this to you. I don't know if you've ever seen those little toy plastic army men, but when I was a kid, my brother had a set and I had a set. Mine were the green army men, and he had a pack of like the tannish color army men. And we'd set them up, we'd line them up, and they would play war. And all that meant was whoever had more army men set up would win, because they would face off one versus one and then they'd fall down. Next ones would face up one versus one and fall down, and so on until there was a team that had more guys left standing. That's kind of how I think of when you add two integers with different signs. And let me explain this with an example. I'm going to say negative 4 plus 5. I'm going to use these integer chips as well to help model this. These are going to be my army men. So the negative army men are these 4 red integer chips. And the positive are these 5 yellows. All right, so what happens when you face off one negative and one positive? Negative 1 plus positive 1 is 0. That's a 0 pair. Those two things cancel out. Negative 1 plus positive 1 is 0. Those cancel out. Negative 1 plus positive 1 is 0. Those cancel out. These army men are canceling each other out until there's only one left standing, and that's one positive one left over. So when you add 4 negatives plus 5 positives, the result, what's left over, what's left standing, is one positive yellow integer chip. Now, I could just say, look at integer chips, add them together, but you can't walk around with integer chips to do all of your addition problems. So the rule that I'm proposing is subtract the two numbers. So when we fight, they're going to face off 5 minus 4, and there's 1 left over. And what is that 1 that's left over? Is it a positive 1 or a negative 1? Well, which value was bigger, 4 or 5? Well, 5 is bigger than 4, so there was more on this team than this team. There was 1 more. It's going to be positive 1. Let's look at this with one other example. Let's try negative 7. We'll do 4 plus negative 7. All right, so if you're thinking integer chips, I've got 4 yellow, 7 red. There's more red than yellow. So right off the bat, I know my answer is going to be negative. The negative number is bigger than the positive number. How many more are there? Well, just find the difference between the two. 7 minus 4 is 3. So there's 3 left over after these two things do battle, so to speak, and they're going to be negative ones. And if you're a visual person, just think, all right, I got 1, 2, 3, 4 positives. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7. So 4, 4, they're going to cancel out, and there's 3 left over for the negatives, negative 3. A little bit of a funky one, but let's give you a shot for an example on one of these. So we're going to do your first example, negative 13 plus 2. All right, think it through, give it a try. It's okay if you're not quite sure, but let's see how you do. All right, so I'm getting 13 negatives plus 2 positives. The rule says subtract the 2 and keep the value of the larger number. So the bigger number is the negative one. It's bigger than the positive. So there's going to be negative integer chips left over, meaning my final answer should be negative, negative 11. I have $13 of debt. I'm able to pay off 2 of the dollars, but I still have $11 of debt left over. That's another way to think of this. Let's give it one more example. Let's do negative 9 plus 15. All right, let's see how you do. All right off the bat, no matter what, you need to be able to tell if this is going to be a positive or a negative value. Since the positive is bigger than the negative, I know my final answer is positive. Now it's just a matter of what, like what positive value is it going to be. So there's 15 of these, there's 9 of these. They're going to do battle. 15 minus 9, there's going to be 6 left standing. And we already established that the 6 left standing are going to be positive because there are more positives than there are negatives. If you're trying to think of this in terms of something else like money, you've got $9 of debt, you come across $15 maybe hiding in your pocket, so you can pay off the $9 of debt and you still have 6 left over, positive 6. So that would be positive. All right, this is a bit of a new skill. We're going to keep working on it, keep practicing it together, but at least this gets you kicked off into thinking about how to add negative numbers in different scenarios. Be ready to work through this, a lot of these practice problems in class. Until then, though, I hope you have some notes written down, and I will see you when I see you. Thanks.